there comes a time, in spite of your academic education, military training, and preparation, when you have to face your first unit, your first as a brand new officer. And so the question then is, how do you earn the trust and respect of your men, your peers, and your commander in your first assignment? And I'd like to start, if I could, at the far end with Captain Klopfer.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so my first duty station was down in Fort Stewart, Georgia. If you're an air liaison officer or TAC-P individual, you're going to be working with the Army primarily, and so I don't really get to spend a whole lot of time on Air Force bases, which is, I hear, is a pretty big drag because I hear they're pretty awesome. But when you first arrive at your duty station, like Field Marshal Montgomery said, you have to win the hearts and minds of your men. Where does that end? It doesn't really end with who you're directly in charge with. It's your whole unit. We work at a squadron level, primarily 100 or so people. That includes supply, support, logistics, civilians, you name it. So where you have to, how you gain the trust of your commander and your people is by helping out your people first. Not just who's in your flight, but the support people, making sure that they have all the information that they need in order to support the warfighter. And if you can do that, your commander is going to be able to trust you with tasks, and then obviously if you can complete those tasks, then you're really going to have the commander's favor, and hopefully that puts you in a higher leadership position instantly. Everyone joins to be a leader, and although your time in the sun, where you're at the tactical level, won't be as long as your enlisted folk, the more responsibility you get, I would say the more rewarding it is. That's all I got.
Let me spin that a little bit for Lieutenant Melendez. You moved into a situation that you're basically qualified, but the people that really know how to make it work are the chief petty officers and the senior petty officers in a gunnery department or the damage control section. How do you earn the respect of your senior enlisted advisor? And then, did you ever have to deal with disagreements? And how do you handle that?
So first thing you have to understand is that even though as a brand new commissioned officer, like you said, you have to admit that you don't know everything. And that's kind of hard for us to be in a position where we feel like we're supposed to be the officer, we're supposed to be in charge, but we kind of don't know everything. So being honest with what you don't have a really good understanding of, and being able to know who to ask and what to ask, those are the kind of questions that you need to be able to ask. So you'll have a very good working relationship with your chief and your NCOs and your senior NCOs if you are honest with them, and you don't have to point at your collar and say, this is how it's going to be done because I'm the officer. That's when you have to remind people of your rank, there's a problem with the situation, whether it's their respect for you or your inability to lead them, I feel like. So being honest with what you don't know is a good way to have that good working relationship. What was the second half of that question, sir? I apologize.
Did you ever have to deal with a disagreement with your leading chief or leading petty officer?
Yeah, I have to be completely honest. I've had the great fortune of having nothing but outstanding chief petty officers. So I've never really had to disagree with any of my chiefs.
Well, maybe some other will, but I want to stop here and point out, you watch the heads nod. Now, we let them know what your questions were, but there's no right answers. So when you see all the head nods, that tells you it's a significant point, okay? And the point here is the quality of your judgment is more important than the rank on your collar. And it doesn't matter if you're an ensign or a colonel. The quality of your judgment is the coin of the realm and makes your reputation, which is really your payment. Let me move now to Captain McGill. Maybe common mistakes junior officers make in their first assignment, or maybe what the first most important thing you learned from your first assignment.
Yeah, I mean, I would say overall, most important thing is just to be humble. So go in there, and like Dave is saying, you don't know everything. You're not the expert in the aviation field. So you go through 3-4 years of flight training. There's no leadership opportunities really within that, and then you show up and you're in charge of a shop of anywhere from 7 to 50 Marines. So again, I have had the good fortune of having good staff NCOs and bad staff NCOs, but I would say it's vitally important that you find a staff NCO that you trust. There's always going to be that one go-to person in any unit. If you're able to get on their good side, then you can basically use them as a sounding board if for nothing else. So for Staff Sergeant Drayton, that's the Staff Sergeant in my unit that is the go-to person, regardless of whether it's operations related, maintenance related. She knows what's up, and she knows all the people there. So if ever I have a disagreement with a Staff NCO of mine, I will always basically go to her and say, hey, Staff Sergeant, can you talk me through this? She knows the ins and outs of that unit, and it's always nice to have somebody outside of your direct chain of command, up or down, that you can use as a reference there.
Thank you. Major Jepson, you've commanded at second, first lieutenant, and captain, company command. You've stood in front of folks, and as a woman, what role does gender play in establishing credibility, reputation when you first walk in the door?
So that's a tough question. I'll just go 0 to 60 right away. That's good. That's good. So I will offer. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and I'm thankful for this time with you guys. I'm excited for you. What lies ahead. Colonel, to answer your question, I would offer that female officers have. All of the females that I have worked with in the past, officers and NCOs, we want to be treated like soldiers, just like our male counterparts do. When you look at a female, that shouldn't be the first thing that comes to your mind. You want to know whether or not she's capable and competent in her job, if she's technically and tactically sound. And if she pulls her weight, or if she cuts corners, what are her strengths and her weaknesses, and then if she's going to be a team player. And I would offer that if you are all of those things, and we all have our weaknesses, but if you are good at your job and you're honest, and if you are trying to influence your NCOs not through your rank, but through that personal relationship that you have with those around you, then you'll be treated just the same, and it will be professional, and that's what we want.
Really, the best answer I could have hoped for, because in my time in the Marine Corps, I always use the term an officer who happens to be, fill in the next one. A Marine officer that happens to be an aviator. You still got to be a leader first. Whatever the phrase after that was, the officer qualities define how they should be measured, and it credits them instantly with peerage. We're all the same. After that, it's do your job. Pretty simple stuff. Commander, let me ask the same thing of you, because a naval experience is somewhat different than an Army one.
It is a tough question. And I absolutely agree with everything that you said about the competency, being professional. I've always just wanted to be treated like a naval officer and a surface warfare officer. And and good evening, and it is an honor to be here. Thank you, thank you guys. I reported to my first ship. We were the very second crop of females to show up, and we had an all male enlisted crew. And I reported with 5 other females. So 6 female ensigns running around this cruiser, all trying to get our qualifications. I have been very fortunate in my entire career. Both the people who have worked for me and the people I have worked for haven't ever treated me any differently because I was female. However, I think one of the things that I or other people that I've worked with have struggled with is on a ship, you deploy with the same group of people for 6, 7, 8 months, however long your deployment is. And as a minority on the ship, you tend to stick out. Perception can sometimes become reality. So one of the questions that we got prepared for is how important is it to form an emotional connection with your subordinates? And not trying to go away from the
No,
female
good.
thing, but I was talking about this with some of my other friends who've had similar experiences. And as a female, being professional, and especially when you have a male crew, having to maintain a little bit more distance than you would like just because of maintaining that professionalism. But in the end, all that your sailors care about is if you work hard, you take care of them, you're honest with them, and you're communicating the why beyond the work that you're doing.
I had prepared to go to another question, but we've now sprung into serving leadership. So I'm going to leap past and come back to the hardest decision you ever had to make in your first year. So that one's coming. Okay? You don't get a freebie on that. But when you start talking about serving leaders, and you listen to the qualities in honesty,